All right, today we're here with none other than Audley Harrison, Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight boxer, and we're just here to get his views on the heavyweight landscape at the moment. So, looking back throughout your career, you fought Deontay Wilder, you felt his power firsthand. If he eventually gets in the ring with Anthony Joshua, how do you see that fight panning out?
Yeah, Joshua Wilder was my last fight. It ended up being my retirement fight, and he was a big puncher. I also had him in training camp 2 years before that when I was training for David Price. I had him in camp, Malik Scott and Joe Hanks. So big puncher with the right hand, tall. All these modern heavyweights, the Tyson Furies, Deontay Wilders, everybody's tall now. You know, I was the big tall guy in my time. Deontay Wilder's got a dangerous right hand. He's very explosive, and just like mentally, even though he's lost to Fury, and he seems like he's got a rejuvenation of fire. So right now we're not seeing that in Joshua. In terms of just like his spirit, and sometimes that's what you need in the fight. You know, that confidence that he had, that swagger that he had. In terms of the momentum, right now you'd have to go with Wilder because Deontay's trying to find himself. You know, I think Malik Scott is in a good place with Deontay, so they have something that they're building on. Obviously now. You know, Joshua tried Diaz, and now he's moved trainers again, obviously with a great trainer, but it's going to take time for them to gel and for the trainer to implement the stuff that he's working on. So I think right now if they fight, it would be a very exciting fight, but I'd probably go with Joshua, but you definitely can't count AJ out. He's always in great shape. Style-wise, you know, if he's coming forward in this fight and he doesn't back up as much, you've got to come forward, but obviously you've got a guy throwing big right hands at you. So it's a tough assignment for Joshua, but it's definitely one that if he just find that fire, have a great training camp, he's definitely going to be in the fight. You can't rule him out, but I'd say Wilder would start as the favourite.
I think Wilder's the man, yeah.
He would start the favourite.
You see that as being a knockout win for Wilder? Do you think since Joshua felt the force of Andy Ruiz, got knocked down, didn't he? Since then, has he lost some of his aura, lost some of his invincibility, clearly?
I mean, obviously, when you keep your O, it gives you the aura. I know when I was undefeated, I had that swagger.
Yeah.
And so you take that into the ring, and you can build on that for the opponent. Once you lose that O, then you're going to have to rebuild, and that's where he's in. He's in a real building process. Obviously, he won the rematch against Ruiz, and they made the adjustment. And then obviously he's had a couple of falls then. But you know, he's had a good career, good solid career. You can say for him, he's had a great career from where he's come from. But these are the fights. He's in these fights that we want to see him fight Fury. We want to see him fight Wilder, because those are the fighters, especially from Britain, that you know they're on his level. And we want to see those fights getting made. So I know, you know, the Usyk thing didn't go his way for Joshua, but I think he's got one more run in him. He's just got to get it right.
Yeah. You personally, your career, you fought most of your big fights in the UK. Now there seems to be a lot of prospect of the big fights happening in Saudi Arabia. Do you feel like British boxing fans are being shortchanged, seeing their stars, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua going abroad to fight these fights?
I mean, as a boxing fan, obviously, there's nothing better than sitting in an arena, whether it's Wembley Arena, whether it's Wembley Stadium. The atmosphere is electric. And you've got your home fans, or you've got the British fans like screaming your name. Or if you're in the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, or the Thomas and Mack.
Yeah.
It's just very, or in New York, Madison Square. Those are just iconic venues.
Right.
And I've been in there, I've been able to box in some of those venues, and I've been able to watch big fights in those venues, and it's just amazing. So I understand, you know, money talks, innit? Money talks, bullshit walks, as they say. And going to Saudi Arabia is obviously financial. It's not like, hey, let's go there for a cultural experience.
Or the atmosphere.
They're going there because money talks, you know, and those big fights, like the Thriller in Manila back in the day in the Philippines. Why? Because they paid the money to make the fight so attractive financially that they're going to go over there. So obviously for Saudi Arabia, they've got a blank checkbook,
Yeah.
and they're going to make it so lucrative that the promoters and the fighters will say, look, it makes sense. And the fans lose out, unfortunately, they do. And the atmosphere and getting that electric, environment, which is so great for big fights.
Yeah.
You kind of don't have that, but it's the business where it is today with so much money.
That's how it is. Yeah.
It's a shame. It is.
If Joshua isn't the next opponent for Deontay Wilder, do you see someone out there that would be a good matchup for him? Like they say, styles make fights, but who would be your pick for Wilder's next fight if it's not Joshua?
Yeah, I mean, the Joshua fight is a fight that we want to see.
That's the one.
That's the one. Outside of that, obviously Joe Parker just had a good ring. Names like that. I know he's not going to go lower than that. It's hard to find. Dylan White probably would be in a good something to consider because he needs a kind of marking time fight if he ain't fighting, or even Usyk. Try and get the Usyk fight.
Yeah.
This fight I would gun for Usyk. He's had his one warm-up fight, got rid of the guy, so he's ready to go back into the big stages. Obviously, doesn't really make sense in fighting Fury again. I know he's mentioned it.
Yeah, surely
so
not
really
again.
Joshua, Joe Parker, Dylan White, that kind of level,
Yeah.
There's some up-and-coming guys coming in America. Doesn't really make sense him fighting those guys.
Yeah.
He needs a big name for him to come back to. So I would say a Joe Parker or a Dylan White would make sense for him.
But there's talk about, obviously we've been looking at AJ, Tyson Fury for it feels like decades now, but it's probably been a couple of years. If that fight does eventually get made, are you seeing Tyson Fury walking through AJ, or do you think it's going to be a closer fight than a lot of people think?
Tyson Fury is not a big puncher, is he?
No.
So he's somebody that will weigh you down. Now he's with Sugar Hill, and Sugar Hill's. Tyson Fury has always been a great boxer, and he's from the amateurs, he's been a good boxer.
Yeah.
But what they've done now as a pro, going to Sugar Hill, he's taught him about going forward. So now he's using his weight, and he's able to go forward. But he's not a big puncher, but over time, just with his mental strength as well, you'd have to make him the favourite against Joshua. But you definitely can't rule Joshua out. He's going to come in great shape, and he's going to be giving it. He's got to go forward and put that pressure on.
Yeah.
When I look at Joshua's style of, the optimal of his style, because he kind of has the bounce, and if they would just adjust him a little bit, so he's more like a Holyfield, like a bit more loose, and just the rhythms a bit more, he would be so dangerous, and catching and punching.
Yeah.
Because he kind of got, when he was coming up, that's how he was, and he looked so dangerous with the uppercuts, throwing the hooks, uppercuts, but having that little bounce, and he's kind of gone away from that a bit.
That's what we saw against Klitschko, right? Like that was that prime AJ at that point?
Yeah, he was. And Klitschko had kind of slowed down enough where he could come in there with those shots and just put that pressure on him.
Yeah.
And you saw how effective he was. So for Joshua now, I just think he needs to find his way. But against Fury, you've got to put Fury as the favourite against anybody right now.
That's true.
Because the Deontay Wilder assignment was no easy assignment for Tyson Fury to figure that out. You've got to give him a lot of praise because, especially in the last fight, Deontay Wilder came with everything and the kitchen sink, and Fury was like, not going to happen. I'm going to withstand whatever you can give to me.
Yeah.
And it's very rare. The last time I saw a fight like their fourth fight, Fury and Wilder, was like Nigel Benn and Gerald McLennan, where it was just like everything on the line, and whatever it takes, it's like a gladiator battle.
Yeah.
That was. So all praise to Fury, all praise to Deontay Wilder for that battle, because that was some.
It was epic, wasn't it? Yeah, epic one.
Yeah.
Looking back on your career, say a prime Audley Harrison, how do you see yourself faring amongst the current heavyweight landscape?
My prime, when you talk about 2004, right? If you look back, I was saying, if you look back, because you got to remember, from my first fight, I'd done it like I was, even though I wasn't a world champion, I'd done it like I was a world champion. From the trainers that I had in my camp, from the private training camps that I had, from what I was learning, from the sparring partners that I was bringing in, it was like high level. So the stuff that I was learning, then when I went to America, the stuff that I was learning, so at 14-0, 15-0, the way I was excuse me, fighting on the outside, fighting on the inside was like beautiful. When I won my first title, junior version of it, the WBF title, the stuff that I was doing on the inside and the outside, no one was going to stop me, you know. And so coming my prime, because then I was unbeaten. I was future of the heavyweight division,
right? And
I lost my contract with the BBC. And you may as well say the world title went from there, because after that, when I came back, now I'm never going to work for these promoters. I'm signing with these promoters that I said I'll never work with, and I never got my mojo back. So even though you saw me coming back, and I thought it wasn't never the same, you know. But a prime Audley Harrison, I would have gone for anybody. I would have gone for anybody, because I was there. I was like licking my lips of the opportunity of fighting Vladimir Klitschko.
Yeah.
That was my goal. I am gonna. And I looked at his style. He lost to Corey Saunders. Like early on in his fight, he got knocked. He was a southpaw, South African southpaw, and I was like, oh my god, he's gonna be so perfect for me in 2006. 2000. I was just. It was all geared for me, you know. But my thing was, I wanted to do it on my own. A-Force Promotions, you know, under my banner.
Right.
And you know, that's why it capitulated, and that's the people like, yeah, okay. But the stuff that I was doing, so like when I'm looking at me now, this is why I get like very frustrated looking at the fights now.
Yeah.
Because of my tutelage.
Putting yourself in that.
I had Phil Torrance with me. Phil Torrance and Eddie Futz were together 40 years, and their tutelage was never 100 years. So it's like the history of boxing, the science of boxing, especially heavyweights. And then from Phil Torrance I went to Buddy McGirt. It's like what I have in my head. Then I was my own promoter, manager, working with, you know, actually just United Present. But I learned the whole game. I learned the whole game from matchmaking, managing, promoting, and training, fighting. So I have all of that in my head. You know, I need to give it to somebody. Like, so what I could do with a fighter, like looking at Joy Joyce, looking at Dubois, looking at Okoli, looking at Joshua, just looking at them and what they're doing incorrect, you know, from my background. It's crazy. When I lost to Chris Eubank, when I lost to Danny Williams in my first fight, Chris Eubank Sr. came and found me. I was in a fancy hotel in the West End. He came and found me, got my number. I didn't even know Chris Eubank Sr. personally. So I got my number. He said, "Oh, I want to talk to you," because you know my Danny Williams one was so bad. That fight was so bad for me. He just wanted to come and fight me, beat me, and just find out what the hell happened there, you know. And he was like, "Boy, I know you like your trade. You know, you're living in silk pajamas now, probably. So it's hard for you to be motivated because you've earned money and you're living a good life." But where is that guy, you know? And he talked about his warrior code, and it was just a great conversation. I'll never forget that talk. Like, he came out of his own way and reached out to me and just like gave me some tips. And I took that into my rematch with Danny Williams. I went to Big Bear, and you saw what happened in the rematch. I almost destroyed it. Exactly, you know, that's like I primed that version, so that you talk about a prime Audley. That's Danny Williams 2. That night I would have beaten anybody. Didn't matter who I was facing. That night you saw the best of Audley Harrison, and I would have destroyed anybody on that night. Yeah, that was your peak. That was my pinnacle. I was locked in, and whoever I was fighting, because originally it was Matt Skelton, and he switched to Danny. So you go back and watch Audley Harrison 2006 fight Danny Williams 2, and you'll see like the best version of me. And it was like, wow, you know, and that was the prime me, and I was ready for anybody. So it's a shame. That was 2006. So I was ready then to go on and not be stopped. And then my next fight, I lose to Michael Sprott, and then it's all over. You know, but that fight there I signed the contract because now I'm tied to Frank Warren, and that's he has me for my whole career. And it's kind of like, so it's like bittersweet because now I've just won that fight, and I haven't just give up control. Signed to the man that I didn't want to. I said I'm never going to side with. So now it's kind of like it was a climax and an anti-climax. It was tough on me mentally, but that's the way it went, you know. And I never was able to reach the heights again, and kind of just went into no man's land. I got injured, had a bad car crash in 2007. I kind of was just off in the wilderness till I bumped into Eddie in a poker tournament in Vegas. Was that
where it was? Yeah, random.
It was in Vegas, And Eddie said, "Hey, Audley, what are you doing? Come back," and we done the prize fighter. Okay,
switching tact a bit there. In terms of like fighting people that you might be friends with, does that make you feel some kind of way? Because I saw that Tyson Fury recently said he'd rather give up the belt than fight his friend Joe Parker. That's something that surprised you, because obviously there's the balance, isn't there, between professionalism and friendship, like.
Yeah, in boxing it's always hard to fight people you know, people that you're connected with. It's very hard to get mad about them, but you've got to be professional and do the job, you know. But I had it with Julius Francis in my 15th fight, when I came back to England, and you know, the Beeb wanted to start controlling my opponents more.
Yeah.
I had a guy who was unbeaten from Europe. They said, nobody knows him, we don't want to box him, at least Julius Francis, we know. I'm like, Julius is going to be a stinking fight, he's going to be horrible, because I know him, I've partied with him, I boxed him in the amateurs, that was the only saving grace. Okay, I can beat him in a rematch and avenge that loss to him from the amateurs, but it's a pointless fight because we know each other, and I can't get out for the fight. So we boxed him, we've done 12 rounds, and it was horrible in terms of like for a spectacle. Okay, I got 12 rounds out of it boxing, but it was very hard to get
the anger,
fire for somebody that you know you've been out with. So I understand what Tyson Fury is saying, but ultimately you still got to go in and do the job.
You can't be giving up the belt, can you? You still got to go out there and do a job.
He's not going to give up the job. So ultimately you'll fight your guy, but it's just hard to get motivated for that fight.
Right. Let's continue with Tyson Fury. He said, well, it was said that AJ laughed when Eddie Hearn read out the contract they had offered to him recently, and you know, it's been so hard to make any Tyson Fury fights recently. Do you think he's the problem, like in terms of trying to make these big fights rather than anyone else? It's Tyson Fury that's causing the rifts.
Well, I think Tyson Fury is the vehicle. He's the voice, and he's the one making, hey, I sent you a contract, but ultimately he has a team behind him. You know, you've got Frank Warren behind him, you've got Bob Arum behind him. So he has a team behind him, and so they're obviously part of the conversation. It ain't just Tyson Fury going out on his own. And they obviously having the talks, and for them to like send out a contract, you imagine that they've had a conversation. It's like, hey, let's send out a contract, but it doesn't, you know, I don't know if it's games or what, but typically what will happen is that, hey, look, want to make this fight, you've talked the terms, then a heads of agreement will come out with the terms that you've spoken, but they haven't even spoken. It's not realistic to think that, okay, now let's put a fight together. Here are the terms. You know, you've got to have a conversation first, and then once you put those terms on paper, you'll do a heads of agreement. And then, because it's pointless just sending an agreement without having discussed it first, because you don't know what the other people are going to agree to or not. So
like I say, it's
the
mind
negotiation process, so it may be a bit of hype if you just say, oh, I'm just going to send you a contract. It's not typically how it works, you know.
You feel like the fact that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua got so much money, like the fact that the fight can't get made, is it greedy promoters? Do you think that's holding it up more than them, the boxers themselves? We just want to see the fight happen.
They've made more money than sense right now. They're both worth more money. But it's just the nature of the boxing game. I remember when Lennox Lewis was talking about fighting Mike Tyson. They were speaking about it for like 3 years, and people were complaining, oh, when is it going to happen? Eventually it happened, you know. Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, they're not fighting, when is it going to happen? It came together and it's happening. Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, it's not happening when these fights not need to be made. They get made.
It's got to be
like
patient.
Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, it got made eventually. People might say, it's a bit late. But they do get made, and it generates the same kind of money, it generates the same kind of hype. But both fighters were still in their prime, isn't they?
That's the main thing, because you could say Mike Tyson was past his prime when he fought Lennox Lewis.
He was past his prime a bit, but it was still
a big fight.
I was there, I flew to Memphis.
Were you there?
It was still big enough. It done like 100 million on pay-per-view. It's still a huge fight.
Huge.
So people complain and all that, but remember, these promoters, they're beating their own. They're dancing to their own beat. You know, they're not dancing to what the public want or to what the networks want. They do it when the time's right, and they're able to create a deal.
But do you feel like, sorry to cut you off, do you feel like it's damaging the reputation of boxing slightly? You see UFC is like fights happening so much more regularly. Boxing's
always had a black eye, and it survives and it exists. UFC, they've got all those fighters signed, and it's not so much of the names of the fighters, even though there's a lot of fighters building names, and they make these matches, and you know, it's a different sport. You know,
fighters are locked in, aren't they?
Boxing is always like, people are complaining about it, but it's as popular as it's ever been. You've got the YouTubers like filling stadiums, you've got regular boxers filling stadiums. The boxers are making more money than they've ever made. They're getting the fans in, people are watching, so it's just move on. I think the main thing in life is shine your light, make your money.
Yeah.
That's what these fighters are doing. They're making money. They're making more money than they've ever made.
Yeah.
And in terms of like whether it's YouTubers or normal boxers, it's like boxing's getting exposure, and it's kind of good because UFC has done such a good job of building their brand. So it's kind of good to keep boxing in the loop, you know, and keeping boxing in the public eye, whether it's through the YouTubers or whether it's through. Because I went to the KSI show and I was like, at least they're doing the sport respect in terms of like they're in great shape. They, you know, the main event and like the top 3 fights were decent.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're getting, like for like white collar boxing or amateur boxing, whatever you're calling it. But they had 9,000 people that want to watch them. So it's like, and they got probably much more people watching them on the box. So, you know,
the roots of the sport are healthy, aren't they?
Yeah,
you've got to say.
Just got to get on with it.
Yeah.
We want to see the best fights being made, and what have we seen this year? Tank Davis has fought Garcia.
Yeah.
We've had Joshua fought Usyk.
Yeah.
So all the people are fighting. You got Errol Spence coming up, Bob Crawford. You just had Haney and Lomachenko. Everyone's getting you can't be complaining about the fights that we're getting. We're getting the best of the best.
That's true.
We just had the fights that's just happened in London. I mean, that just happened in the UK as well. You know, so.
Totally, yeah. Well, somebody you mentioned there, Usyk, and somebody you mentioned previously, Daniel Dubois. They're supposed to be getting it on allegedly in Poland later this year. Is that a fight that interests you? Where do you see that one heading?
So, you know, Dubois, Joyce, even Lawrence Okolie the other day, losing. All of those guys I've reached out to, just like I told you the Eubanks story. Eubanks reached out to me. All of those fighters I've reached out to for the same reason that Eubanks reached out to me, because I have knowledge, I have stuff that I could share with them that they should really want to listen to.
Well, they've all suffered defeats recently as well, haven't they?
And this is what I'm saying, setbacks paved the way for comebacks. There's a lot of stuff that I have in here that they could sit down and benefit from. You know, and so I'm surprised that those guys are not coming through the door to have a conversation, just in terms of like, you know, helping them grow.
Knowledge is knowledge.
Right. Dubois, like, so talking about Dubois and Usyk, obviously Usyk is has the big advantage. Dubois is a big puncher, but as you've seen in his last fight, even though he got the win, there's some stuff that he can do. I'd love to sit down with Dubois and give him some stuff. If you get an opportunity like that, you can't turn it down. It's kind of hard to turn it down. Like me and David Haye. I had the opportunity for David Haye after winning the European title. I tore my pec. I had surgery, then I was in rehab for 6 months. The fight came at 2 months. I'm still in rehab. I don't know how I'm going to do, but I couldn't say no to the opportunity. You know, and just it was like a hope and a prayer. But you don't
the warrior mentality.
You don't take a world title fight on a hope and a prayer. But you're like, you know, you got one shot. You may not get another shot.
Exactly.
Take it. You know, just try to make the best of it. So I understand what they're going through, and that's all you can do is just take the fight. Usyk is a big favourite, and he's got to try and make the most of it. You know, and. Get as much advice as he can. Like when I was on my way to the Olympics, if you see the guy, I went and sparred with Herbie Hyde. I went to New York. I went and sparred with all these different guys with the different gyms. Because I wanted to soak up as much information as I could. Because I wanted to make sure when I get to the Olympics I was ready. You know, and so a lot of these guys, training teams, they don't want to bring nobody else in, and it's crazy. Because you like take the insights from people who've got the knowledge to help you like correct some of your errors. It's crazy.
You think that's a bit of the ego talking there, like they don't want to listen, they want to do it their own way? And
I don't think it's ego. I think it's like when you look at like when you audit a system, there's different methodologies you can use to audit a system. So if you look at like a SWOT analysis, like it's strengths, weaknesses, internal, opportunities and threats, external, right? I'm an opportunity. I'm something that can learn you external to your system for these training teams. But they look at me as a threat. Audley Harrison, what does he want? And so there's a fear. There's fear. So they're losing the opportunity when and there's weaknesses. You look at their strengths internally to their organisation. You look at their weaknesses. The weaknesses are outweighing the strengths. So you need to bring in somebody from the outside, internal, to look at your system. Something's going wrong.
Specifically, you know, with
something's
Lawrence.
Going wrong, but they're looking at me as a threat. So they're like, "Nah, we're not bringing the audit. I'm an opportunity to help you. I've got too much knowledge here, whether it's training, whether it's advising. But right now, just training, what you're doing. Like I said, what Fel Torrance gave me everything. He taught me everything. Matchmaking. I just got everything in there. I can go to the amateur gym, like I went to Rectum the other day. And it was great, just teaching the kids the basics, how to move around the ring, Olympic style boxing, what they're doing. It was amazing.
Looking at Lawrence Okoli's performance on Saturday night, obviously very disappointed, I'm sure he is, with his performance. Do you think he was lucky not to get disqualified for the way he was holding, clinching? Like, he lost the fight anyway, but why did he put in such a drab performance? Is that just the way he boxes in general?
Yeah, I don't think he boxes that way in general. I think, like, from my understanding, Lawrence was in the camp he was with Shane and that before, and he was in the other side before, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And so they knew him internally. Right. They knew his weaknesses.
So they knew what to prepare for,
Right, so they knew his weaknesses, and obviously they took advantage of that. Right, so all the hype, if you listen to Lawrence talking beforehand, he was like, hey, I'm going to do a number and do a job, but they knew, like, we have a game plan for you.
Okay,
We're going to put pressure on you. And, you know, I felt Lawrence had way too much respect. You know, he's my friend. There was too much, like, nicey about it.
Yeah.
And when you're the champion, even though you're friends, like we were just talking about friends, fighting friends,
exactly.
You've got to be able to switch that off and be, like, mean about it. You know, and Lawrence wasn't mean about it. He wasn't about destroying his friend.
Right.
And we could be friends after. So that was number one. He'd have to correct in a rematch.
Yeah.
And number two is just technically, again, you know what you're getting with the kid. You're like rough, tough, no nonsense. Not a biggest puncher, even though you put him down. You know, there's a lot there that he can correct in the rematch. Obviously, he has a rematch clause. But that fight didn't do him no justice. But like I said, setbacks paved the way for comebacks.
Yeah.
And what a great response he could do by coming back and performing to his potential. Like, you know, Lennox Lewis, when he lost to Hassim Rahman in the first fight, got knocked out.
Remember that, yeah.
Embarrassing for Lennox. Oh, embarrassing. But Lennox knew he made mistakes that he can correct. So he went to camp, enacted the rematch clause. Lennox went to camp, payback, didn't cut no corners. You saw what happened in the rematch. Now, I don't think the Lawrence Okoli situation is the same. So when he goes to camp, he's going to have to overcome some mental challenges, and if he can overcome that in his mind and set the story right, because he's got to be powerful. He's got to go to camp and with power. So he's got the story he tells himself is going to be very important. And those are kind of tricks that I don't know if his camp are telling them, his core circle are telling them, and that's what he should be hearing.
Same kind of goes for Joe Joyce. Like he picked the opponent, Big Bang Zhang, southpaw, big punch. They didn't seem to really be prepared for what he was going to come up against. But he's activated the rematch clause. What's he have to do differently to get a different result? Right,
another guy technically who, you know, got it all wrong on the night, and Zhang took advantage. And you think if he, you know, it's like when he looks at what went wrong, he can't go back with the same team, no adjustments, because that's the definition of madness, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't get a different result if you do the same thing.
No.
So when they look at what went wrong, they should be doing that with an outside audit. You know, you can't audit yourself. That's why I'm saying to whether it's Joe Joyce, I made it look, whether it's Joe Joyce, whether it's Dubos, let me audit you in a good way, not a bad way. It can only help you. It cannot be a negative. Oh, what does he know? Trust me, I know a lot.
Plenty.
I know a lot, you know, because like I said, from the turning pro, even for the Olympic move, I done it like I was a world champion. And obviously once I turned pro, my camps and just who I trained with, who I brought into camp, who I had in my circle, who I had in my ear, you know, it's just what I know is too much for me to go to waste. So when I come to England, like I'm in America, I'm in the hair care business, I'm kind of out of the boxing. But when I come here, I kind of get the buzz flowing again.
I can tell. Get the juices flowing, right?
I want to guide somebody, I want to help somebody.
Is there any danger of YouTuber boxing overshadowing professional boxing, considering the viewing figures and the money they're making? What do you think? Professional boxing will always have its own place in the echelons.
Yeah, it's funny, because with the YouTube boxing and them having their audience, them making their money, and I know some traditional, you know, boxing fans and even boxers, they kind of go sideways in terms of like, they're like, you know, what is that? It's kind of overshadowing what we're doing, and it's kind of disrespectful. But when I came through, you remember, I came through from the Olympics. Nobody knew who I was. After the Olympics, everybody knew who I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, I became a household name overnight, so to speak. So I used to get a lot of people hating on me, you know, and I'd be like, listen, don't hate the player, hate the game. That was one of my regular statements I used to say. I'm making my mind, because I was like, just turned pro, I'm headlining the show, you know, 3 million people are watching me, 6,000 people are in Wembley Arena. And don't hate on me. I'm shining my light, making my money.
Yeah.
You know, I took control, and that's what these YouTubers are doing. And I know some people are like, but it's not right. Well, it's what we're. If you get a chance to shine your light, make your money, make no apologies. You know, it's like, just keep it moving.
That's it.
Boxing. I went to the KSI show. I wanted to see what it's like. I went with David Hay, and it was packed. 9,000 people in there. It was all these kids. My old lawyer was in there with his daughter, 19-year-old daughter. All these kids are following KSI and these influencers, these YouTubers. They're making money. They're saying boxing. It is boxing. I mean, the main event and 3 of the fights were decent for what it was.
Yeah.
Amateur boxing or white collar boxing, whatever. That's what it is. It's not like professional boxing. It's not even amateur boxing. It's white collar boxing that has a place.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're bringing eyes to the sport, the fact that they're making money, the fact that they have an audience that want to see them, you can't hate on it. Just like when I came through headlining my shows, you can't hate on it. I'm shining my light. I created this pathway.
That's it.
They've created this pathway. They're like influencers, and they say, okay, now we want to box. You can't, and the fans say, oh, we want to watch it. That's an interaction. It's supply and demand. It's very simple business economics 101.
Yeah.
So
the two can coexist alongside each other, can't they? Yeah.
And it's like same as UFC. It's supply. People want to see it. They want to see boxing. They want to see UFC. They can coexist. We don't need to say, well, it's this or that. No, it's just not how life works, you know. And people just got to get the old traditionalist. It's okay. And even the boxers, like, you can learn from the YouTubers, like, about building your audience. You can't just be in the gym focused on fighting. You put out an Instagram post, how you're doing. Do an update on Twitter about some of your thoughts. Share some of your thoughts. You've got to be more engaging. And be a bit viral. Like, do something a little crazy. It may feel uncomfortable. I didn't have no shame in my game about marketing myself, doing the publicity, because you can't just be like a boxer. Like, learn from these YouTubers and stuff about creating content, because that's what it's about ultimately. Create content, monetize it, make your money and get out.
Someone who was great at doing exactly that, Floyd Mayweather. He's still prolonging his career. He's fighting in these exhibition matches. John got his grandson next in June. Do you feel though he's at risk of damaging his legacy potentially by losing one of these matches, or just the fact that it's not a real match, or do you think his legacy is there, written in stone now, it doesn't affect him?
Yeah, I mean, fighting wise, Floyd legacy is very secure as what he done in the ring, like fighting the best of the best, unbeaten. You got to put him right up there pound for pound for what he done in his career. What he's doing now is just, again, using his influence. He's an influencer. Now I don't want to be I don't need to go down that road again of being a boxer. Being fighting for belts. I've won all the belts I can want to win. I'm now at the age where I'm older, I'm not as sharp, so what can I do to still use my influence to make money? That's what he's doing. He's finding other influencers who he can match that make him money. He ain't gonna get too hurt because he's coming in the gym. He's doing the work that's needed for that level of fighter. If he was fighting one of the top guys now, that wouldn't work, would it? No, true. So he's using his influence. He's been very smart, and he's finding people like John Gotti, who has his influence. He has an audience, doesn't he?
He'll bring that.
And so they're making him out. It's pretty safe for him. Like somebing like Roy Jones. Roy Jones should be copying Floyd Mayweather's advantage. He's another pound for pound great. Love Roy Jones Jr. But I think because he's fighting these harder fights, he's fighting like real fights. He's fighting against real fighters. That's the difference. Floyd Mayweather's not fighting against real fighters, so the likelihood of him getting harmed is quite low.
He's not.
And he's fighting like guys that he's making real money. Roy Jones, on the other hand, he's fighting like real fighters, tougher fighters, and he's like taking punches, losing fights. So I don't like for Roy Jones. I like feeling for Roy Jones. I'm like, allow that, Roy.
But don't damage your legacy anymore.
It's not like I'm just worried about him damaging himself.
His health, right?
His health. He's a great fighter, great individual. Like for him, but Floyd Mayweather, I don't see any risk in what he's doing. I just see more checks, more zeros.
Fair enough.
Fair play to him.
you personally, you turned pro in 2001. You won the British Heavyweight Championship, European Heavyweight Championship.
Didn't win the British.
Didn't win the British.
I can't claim that.
Can't claim that.
I
Won
couldn't
the
get
European.
the British title. Every heavyweight was signed by somebody else.
Oh,
I couldn't get every for that world.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
But like, you challenged for the world heavyweight title. Like, do you have any regrets how your career panned out? Are you happy looking back on it? What do you do?
Ultimately, like I said, I would have loved to win a world title, a legitimate version of a world title. I won the WBF, a legitimate version of a world title under my own auspices, A-Force.
Yeah.
And that's like a regret that I didn't get that done. But when I look back on my career, I know in the end I done it my way. I fought the system, which I always wanted to do, and the system didn't let me go through the way I wanted to go through. And it's okay, so I kind of got rejected, like being my own promoter, coming up, like doing it on my own. And that kind of hurts me, like when I think about it, but it's for the right reasons, Unfortunately, I left the country as a result. I live in America now.
Yeah.
2004, when I lost that beef deal, I left the country. I couldn't be here.
Really?
Mentally, I couldn't deal with it.
Fair.
And but all good. When I look back now, all good. I didn't get. I feel like I could have dominated. I could have been the next, beating Vladimir Klitschko, but not to be. So all that knowledge I have, and all that experience that I have, I've got to give it to somebody. Heavyweights.
The next generation.
I have it all here.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not begging you. You got to understand the knowledge here.
Yeah.
I have something that you need, something that you want to.
Something that money can't buy.
Yeah, let me audit your style. Let me audit your last performance. Any one of you, Joshua, Dubois. Let me just sit with me and we'll watch your tape together.
Analyze.
Lawrence Okoli, any of you.
Joe Joyce,
any of you. Just sit down with me and you'll see how advanced it. We just watch your last fight together.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'll just pick up on some stuff. Then we can talk it through in the gym, maybe work it through. That's my offer to you. And I'm guarantee you it'll be a good time of your investment. I know it'll be a great time of mine, but a great time on your investment.
And what are you up to outside the ring these days? What are you up to? Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
No, I'm in the hair care business now. So I have a hair salon in I have a hair in Calabasas, which is Kim Kardashian country. I have a hair salon with wifey, Salon Nouveau. Okay. And I have a hair care business, Nouveau Hair Care. So I'm in the hair care space right now, but the boxing itch is coming back. Not to fight, but to train and guide and manage or advise. Not really advise, just help, audit. So I'm kind of got the buzz for that right now. And obviously poker, I love poker as well. Playing a little poker as well. So the World Series of Poker is coming up. So hopefully to get down there and get a little bit of action. But I'm blessed right now, and just like I think heavyweights and just boxing in general is in a good place. We've got these great matchups happening. That's happened already. That's continuing to happen this year. Yeah. And
let's see where it goes from here.
Let's hope nobody, because it has the death element, and I know people are passing in the ring, and people have to be mindful of that. That when a boxer goes into the ring, they are truly putting their life on the line. And it's not something to be laughed at or to be joked about. No, I know social media could be quite cruel and unkind, but these boxers really are putting their life on the line when they're in that ring. So just remember that.
Wise words to wrap it up with there. Audley Harrison, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right.
Peace.